From the CyberHub bunker and studio, you're tuning in to the CyberHub Podcast. And now for your host and CISO, James Azar.
Top of the morning, security gang. Welcome to another exciting episode of the CyberHub Podcast. It's great to be with all y'all this morning, Tuesday, May 13th, 2025. What a week it has already kicked off to be. So much happening in the news for cybersecurity practitioners, and there's a lot to talk about. When you think of what kind of like the layers where security plays in, and there's rarely anything in business where security doesn't fall into play. And what we're seeing now is that $1.4 billion Google settlement, right? It's really upending the industry. Like, if you don't look outside the FUD by cybersecurity vendors or privacy lawyers, that's all FUD. That's all, fear, uncertainty, doubt. That's what FUD means, right? You have to look at the basics of operating under a principled, consensual manner with your customers, with your employees. And this involves a level of transparency that we're seeing in some of the new AI regulatory environment that a lot of regulators are looking at and a lot of legislatures are looking at. The AI transparency, the transparency of all of it. And that, folks, is something to be looked at as cybersecurity practitioners, to be driven into our executive meetings, to be driven into the business, to be driven into how we do it, and to find the right balance between transparency, IP, business operations, profitability, and competitive advantage. That's where we as practitioners need to excel. So we've got a packed show. We're going to get into that this morning. Join me for a coffee cup. Cheers. I took a clear glass today. All right. Just want to show you that. Do you see that level of foam there? It's not milk. That's not anything. That's just pure, beautifully pressed espresso. It's Lavazza. If you're interested in sponsoring the show, I love Lavazza coffee. Please reach out. info@cyberhubpodcast.com or reach out to me on LinkedIn, Twitter, anywhere. Coffee cup. Cheers, y'all. Perfecto, as my friends in Italy would say. All right, let's kick off with, if you're an Apple consumer as yours truly, the new iOS 18.5 update rolls out alongside patches for iPad, iOS, Mac OS, and so many others. It's solving critical bugs in Apple JPEG and Core Media, with a major warning from Cupertino's that attackers could create malicious media files that run arbitrary code with the privilege of the targeted app. The company also documenting serious file parsing vulnerabilities patched in Core Audio, Core Graphics, and Image IO, each capable of crashing apps or leaking data if booby-trapped content is opened. iOS 18.5 update also provides covers for at least 8 documented WebKit flaws, some serious enough to lead to exploits that would allow a hostile website to execute code or even crash the Safari browser engine. Beneath the interface, Apple said that iOS 18.5 hardens the kernel against 2 memory corruption issues and clean up the libxpat flaw CVE 2024-8176 that affects a broad range of software projects. There's also other notable stuff here. The 18.5 update is available for iPhone 10s and later. The companion iPad OS release that covers the iPad Pro 2018 and newer, iPad Air 3, iPad 7, iPad Mini 5, and later models. The company also shipped major updates to Mac OS Sequoia, Sonoma, Ventura, Watch OS, TV OS, and Vision OS. Patch now. These are the easiest patches to deploy, by the way. So easy. If you don't have one of the auto deployment tools on your endpoints, what are you waiting for? It's 2025. Get these pushed out to your team ASAP. Reduce your attack surface as quickly and as fast as possible. We move to the Microsoft Threat Intelligence team linking a string of targeted cyber attacks to Marble Dust, which is a Turkey-affiliated threat actors using a previously unknown vulnerability in Output Messenger, which is a self-hosted enterprise chat app. The campaign, which was been ongoing since April of last year, targeted Kurdish military-linked users in Iraq and reflects a growing shift in how regionally motivated cyber espionage is unfolding. Output Messenger isn't WhatsApp or Slack. It's really, really low profile. It's a multi-platform chat tool, often used by organizations looking for some sort of on-prem communication, allegedly safer. This makes it a perfect blind spot. It's not widely scrutinized. There's not a lot of people looking at it. Marble Dust saw the opportunity on there and pounced. They used CVE 2025-27920, which was a directory traversal flaw in Output Messenger Server Manager to plant malicious scripts in the startup folder. From there to execute a stealthy multi-stage backdoor deployment with exfiltration domain and C2 infrastructure cleverly masked under seemingly benign domains like api.wordinfo.com. Microsoft credits Cerimax, Output's messenger vendor, for releasing a timely patch version 2.0.62 plus, and many organizations are still unpatched. So the Marble Dust account chain, Marble Dust attack chain involved accessing Output Messenger Server Manager application as an authenticated user, exploiting the vulnerability in Output Messenger Server messengers, and then they drop malicious files and a backdoor, then call om.vps and passes the om server to exe as an argument, and then it connects to a domain hard-coded in certain cases to data exfiltration. The backdoor connected there. Marble Dust, again, Turkey-based threat group. And again, Turkey is really getting into the field here. For those who don't understand the geopolitics of Turkey, Turkey is run by a dictator, Erdogan. Erdogan's a dictator. The guy has changed. He's Putin. This is the Turkish version of Vladimir Putin. He's taken the Putin playbook to Russia and turned it into Turkey. And he's also a shell of the Muslim Brotherhood. He's taken a secular Turkey and made it an Islamic state, slowly stripping away at the secularism that made Turkey such a unbelievable place for many people to visit and be at today. That's no longer the case. Just last year, we saw Navy members of the U.S. Navy attacked in Turkey. Turkey is a member of NATO. It's a very, very sensitive spot. It's geolocated in a very important part of the world. It hosts NATO bases. It hosts U.S. Air Force bases. There's a lot of complexities there. And Turkey, understanding that complexity, having its alignment with Qatar, with Iran, and so many other regional players, although in Syria it did fight off Iran and pushed Iran out in order to push the Muslim Brotherhood Sunni agenda and not the Shiite agenda. I'm sorry I'm giving you a geopolitical lesson here, but Turkey is starting to step up in the cyberspace. This isn't the first time we hear about them. They've been in the cyberspace before. They were part of a bunch of hacktivist campaign after October 7th. Obviously, Erdogan sees Israel as an enemy. He envisions freeing Al-Aqsa from who? God knows. But he envisions, he's got the Muslim Brotherhood agenda all up in his head. He's also just arrested his political opposition. Turkey is slowly gaining more and more capabilities in cyberspace. That's another destabilizing factor coming into the world that we're going to have to deal with there. The grocery shelves at Co-op retail chain are getting more and more depleted across the UK as the company continues to reel from a cyber attack that they detected 2 weeks ago. The company now fears that the attackers may still have access to its network, and they're keeping some critical logistics systems offline, and that's really preventing shops from getting resupplied with some of their goods. Back in April, the company did announce that they've been taking proactive steps and shutting down parts of their IT network after detecting attempts to gain unauthorized access to some of their system. In a subsequent statement published, their chief executive officer, Shireen Cowrie Hack, acknowledged significant disruption as a result of the cyber attack, confirming that customer and member data was compromised, and the nature of the attack has not yet been confirmed. Retail staff who spoke to Recorded Future News on Monday morning said that deliveries from the Co-op's largest depot were well below 20% of their normal capacity, which is why many shelves were running empty. There's actually an image here. Sorry, we're having some availability issues, which will be resolved shortly. And you can tell, this is just one shelf there, but nonetheless, you can see the images there and kind of the impact that this has. And again, business continuity is really, really critical. I don't know if Co-op had it or not. Stores are still open and trading. They're selling what's on the shelf. They're not getting resupplied. Eventually, they're going to run out of product. Customers are going to go elsewhere, or in some places, from what my understanding is, they're one of the only stores in the area. So people are going to have to travel tens of miles to get their groceries. So there's that aspect there as well. Let's get into some more data breach here. A Global Crossing airline, a U.S. airline that operates as GlobalX, is confirming that they experienced a data breach from Anonymous. GlobalX is one of the airlines that President Trump's administration is using to deport Venezuelan gang members to El Salvador and other illegal aliens illegal people that crossed the U.S. under President Biden. This is a chartered airline they're using. Apparently anonymous, the hacktivist group defaced one of their subdomains, accusing the company over its role in the deportations. In addition, they claim to have obtained flight records and passenger lists, which they leaked to the media. In a Friday filing with the SEC, GlobalX did not confirm the theft of data, but did say they detected unauthorized activity on their network last week on May 5th. The company said the impacted system supports some of its business applications, but claimed that none of their operations were disrupted as part of the attack. And again, the segmentation of the network, OT/IT, there's that. Lee Enterprises saying it incurred $2 million in restoration costs due to the cybersecurity attack in February that also impacted second quarter advertising revenue. The Davenport, Iowa-based newspaper chain, which, already doesn't make enough money, went offline when hackers encrypted critical applications and stole data. The company operates in 72 markets in 25 U.S. states, publishing some major regional papers, including the Omaha World Herald, the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, and Buffalo News. The attack also affected the company's finances by freezing its ability to bill and collect money from customers and limiting its ability to pay vendors. VP and CFO and Treasurer Tim Malaj told analysts during a quarterly earning call last week. Again, you're seeing this when you're not prepared for a cyber attack, when you don't have the right insurance, when your business is severely disrupted. This has material impact on the company. And again, showing you how cyber attacks can impact some of these smaller organizations. Lee Enterprises reported $137 million in total operating revenue for the quarter and said digital revenue rose 3% year over year, or to $73 million, or 4% on the same store basis. The company reported a net loss of $12 million for the quarter as well. Yesterday, we talked on the show about ClickFix attacks, and now they're being spotted targeting both Windows and Linux systems using instructions that make infection on either OS possible. ClickFix is a social engineering tactic where fake verification systems or application errors are used to trick website visitors into running console commands that install malware. These attacks have traditionally targeted Windows systems, prompting targets to execute PowerShell scripts from the Windows run command, resulting in some InfoStealer malware infections or even ransomware. However, now we're seeing it target Linux users. A campaign spotted by Hunt.io researchers last week is among the first to adapt this social engineering technique for a Linux system. The attack, attributed to a Pakistani-linked threat actor group, APT36, also known as Transparent Tribe, utilizes a website that impersonated India's Ministry of Defense with a link to an alleged official press release. When visitors clicked on the website link, they are profiled by the platform to determine their OS and then redirected to the correct attack flow. On Windows, victims are served a full screen page warning, warning them of limited content usage rights. Clicking on continue triggers a JavaScript that copies a malicious MSHTA command to the victim's clipboard, who is instructed to paste and execute it to a Windows terminal. People actually do this. The fact is, users, in order to obtain and get data, will literally do anything without thinking twice about it. So we see that here as well. And again, the India-Pakistan short rivalry there, the short war that took place, the conflict, whatever you want to call it, had a lot of cyber activity, a ton of it. We haven't gone to the bottom of it. We are here on the show. We'll hopefully bring that to you. We're trying to organize it all at once and kind of deliver it all with kind of the back and forth, the tit for tat between India and Pakistan. I think it's absolutely fascinating from what I've seen thus far. ASUS has also released patches to address two security flaws that impact the ASUS driver hub that, if successfully exploited, could enable an attacker to leverage the software in order to achieve remote code execution. Driver hub is a tool designed to automatically detect the motherboard model of a computer and display necessary driver updates for subsequent installation by communicating with a dedicated site hosted at driverhub.asus.com. The flaws, CVEs 2025-3462 and 3463, both have a CVSS score. They have a CVSS score of 8.4 and 9.4. One's an original validation error vulnerability that may allow unauthorized sources to interact with the software features via crafted HTTP requests. The other is an improper certificate validation vulnerability that may allow untrusted sources to affect certain system behaviors via crafted HTTP requests. So those need to get patched up. Threat actors have also been observed leveraging fake AI-powered tools as a lure to entice users into downloading an information stealer malware dubbed Noodleophile. Instead of relying on traditional phishing or cracked software site, they're building convincing AI-themed platforms, often advertised via legitimate-looking Facebook groups and viral social media campaigns, according to Morphisec researcher Shmuel Yuzan. In a report published last week, post shared on these pages have been found to attract over 62,000 views on a single post, indicating that users looking for AI tools for videos and image editing are the target of this campaign. Again, low. These are not people who are security experts. They're just your random people that are trying to edit videos for TikTok or Instagram or whatnot. And then they're getting hit with this. And then their information is getting stolen. So again, something to keep in mind there. Final story of the day. Yesterday, we talked about how Poland was shutting down the Russian consulate in Krakow due to some of the activity they're seeing there. Well, now Russia's outsourced Bulgarian spying was sentenced to more than 50 years in the UK. 6 members of the outsourced spying that were operating in Britain on behalf of the Kremlin were sentenced to a combined 50 years in prison on Monday, which is, again, not that much. It sounds bad, but when you actually understand what they each got, and then you understand how England essentially shaves a third off for good behavior, it's really not as big of a deal. The case is a clear example of the increasing amount of state threat casework they're dealing with in the UK. It also highlights a relatively new phenomenon whereby espionage is being outsourced by certain states, according to Dominic Murphy, the head of the Metro Police Service Counterterrorism Command in the UK. The spies, all Bulgarian nationals, were tasked with surveilling various targets selected by the Kremlin, including Ukrainian troop training in Germany, and were based around Rusov's home at a guest house in Great Yarmouth, Norfolk. Their operations stretched across several European cities, included targeting fellow Bulgarian national Christo Grosazev for potential kidnapping, yet provoked Moscow's ire through his work for the investigative group Bellingcat, identifying the poisoning of Russian opposition figure Alexei Navalny. Additional operations disclosed in court included the surveilling of Roman Doprotov, a Russian national and Kremlin critic, Buragay Raskolov, a politician from Kazakhstan who fled to the UK, and Kirill Kachor, a Russian national designated a foreign agent by the Kremlin after leaving Russia in 2023. According to the Crown prosecution, the network was ultimately being run by John Marsalek, a fugitive Austrian businessman who had been the chief operating officer for Wirecard before disappearing shortly after the company announced the 1.9 billion was missing from their account. Marsalek is believed to be hiding in Russia and is suspected of working for both Russia's GRU and FSB. So the group was given a bunch of sentences. 10 years and 8 months was given to the group's ringleader, Orlin Rosov, a man who claimed to be a technology expert and who have studied at the Queensland University of Technology. Rosolov's principal deputy, Bazar Dazmabovazov, was sentenced to 10 years and 2 months. The other members of the plot included Katrine Ivanova, 9 years and 8 months, Vanya Gaprova, 6 years, 8 months, and 3 weeks, both women described as honey traps for the group's targets, and Timur Ivanchev and Ivan Steinov both received 8 years and 5 years and 3 weeks, respectively. They'll spend half of their sentences in prison before being eligible for parole, and then they'll face deportation back to their Bulgaria. There's that. So there you have it. That's the news for today. Go to cyberhubpodcast.com. You can find a written, shortened version of this podcast with real go-to, like, takeaway actions that you can share. You can sign up. It's absolutely free. It's in your inbox, typically within 30 minutes of the end of the podcast. So make sure to go check that out, cyberhubpodcast.com. Subscribe, follow, share, like, comment. If you have any additional stories, please let us know. Go check out our YouTube channel, where we really do appreciate your support. On behalf of myself and the team here at the CyberHub Podcast, thank you all for tuning in this morning. Have a great rest of your day, and most importantly, y'all, stay cyber safe.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.